This is my very first podcast, and I have
Hey,
Tracy Perez with me. She's going to be
hi,
my first
Karen.
guest. Hi, Tracy.
How are you? This is exciting.
This is so exciting because I've always wanted to do something like this. And historically, I've always done, commentary or interviews for magazines and writing. And sometimes I've done some video stuff. But in this respect, it's a little different. So I'm going to have to come up with some clever intro, outro. But first of all, my name is B. Youngs Paxson with Destiny Paintball. And Destiny Paintball has become more than just a team of 8 players promoting an organization of many different teams. And we have about 150 plus people running the Destiny flag and just doing things together because there are power in numbers. And part of why Tracy has come back into my life is because she offered a helping hand back at World Cup, right? When we saw each other at World Cup 2020. And I realized, like, God's truly blessed me with you
Oh,
because of your background in doing events and being a marketer, plus you're a plethora of many different things. You're like a master of many trades. But more importantly, I would really like to just share your story. And
yeah.
I believe part of the podcast and what we want to do with this podcast is to tell those stories about people like yourself. So right now, my daughter's trying to call me, so I'm
All
gonna
right.
mute that.
Yeah, yeah.
Diane, she's
Oh,
upstairs right now. So I'm at home, by the way. This is my home, and this is as real as it gets, you guys. I am a very busy person, but never too busy for talking to Tracy. So you're going to hear a lot of bells and whistles, maybe some dogs barking, maybe children coming in, and that's okay, right? Because we're living life. Um,
absolutely. We're keeping it real.
Keeping it real, Tracy. So
Yep.
that's enough of that and the explanation of what this podcast is all about. And I'm so thankful that we get to debut it with you as our first guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
honored to get to be your first guest.
I know it's gonna be fun.
It is
Um,
going to be fun.
so Tracy's going through some stuff, but as I kind of delved a little bit deeper into your history, you've gone through a lot of stuff that we are not aware of. And I really wanted to be able to kind of almost ask you some difficult questions. Um, so, first and foremost, let's talk about your introduction to paintball and what year was that?
Let's see. I moved down to Florida for my 90. Randy was old. You got to think about this. I think maybe like 97 or so. It was a long time ago. I wasn't living in Florida. I was born and raised in New York. And upstate New York had this little outdoor paintball field where, they had like wooden obstacles, and then there was just like the forest end of it you could run through. And a friend of mine, her dad played and told us about it. And I wanted to go so bad because it sounded so cool to get to shoot these paintball guns. And I did go, and I loved it. But everything they did then was, I guess, like what we consider scenario now, or woods ball. And I thought that's where it ended, you know, like this guy just has this little paintball thing. So yeah, so I thought that was it, like, yeah, it's so nice. You could run around in the woods and shoot these guns with this paintball. But I did not know that there was different like types of divisions and types of paintball. And between when I first went and when I found out about stuff like World Cup, it was a good few years in between.
Hmm.
Uh, it wasn't really until I moved to Florida that I met someone, and they introduced me to our world of paintball.
Wasn't it like a colleague of yours at work that overheard you kind of conversing about, hey, I did this paintball thing in New York, and then he got
Yeah,
tilted and was like, what? You play paintball?
exactly. And it's funny because he sat in, like, we had, in the office, we were in cubicles, and he sat in the cubicle in front of me, and that kid popped up like, did you see paintball? Oh, I'm sorry. And then he was like, what kind of paintball do you play? And I'm like, kind? I don't know, the only kind.
Yeah, because
you
your
know,
introduction was like Cousins Paintball or something in Long Island
in Long Island.
in
Yeah,
in the
probably that's what
forest.
it was. And I'm like, I'm in Florida. There's no forest here, really.
Right?
Like, where would you go play? So then he started talking to me about hyperball, and how
Airball
they do,
stuff.
yeah, and airball stuff, and how they do these scenarios and stuff like that. And it was 2001 when he asked me to go to World Cup with him so he could show me what it was like.
That was
And that
my
was,
that was my first time experiencing World Cup too, 2001.
and
Happy
it was
Wilmington.
amazing, right?
Yeah, I fell in love with it. Do you remember when they debuted the Push video?
Oh, sure do.
Yep, that's
I
that's the
sure
same
do.
event. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was hooked.
I was so hooked. I loved it. And it sucked because my health has always been bad.
Mm,
So playing for me was kind of hard. But when we did it in the forest, it was easy to try to hide behind a tree and snipe somebody out. Plus, it was like 10 on 10, you know? I'm
right.
like, wow, they're going in here with like teams of just five, then five. Like I was like, holy cow. But then the excitement that I saw with those players was beautiful. And that field, the reason why they called it the cow patties is that's where it would hold the cows. So they used to be those huge mounds of poop that made the place
Yeah, the
so
cow patty
terrible.
with the semi. That's
Yeah.
great.
And but yet all those plays that were there were it was like a hidden sport that nobody knew about. And you gotta win a special pass. And then it's like this amazing whole new world.
Now, did you start meeting people like Chris Lasoya there too? Or was this kind of like your introduction? You're like, man, I really want to delve into this community. And so because of that experience and kind of the paintball circus is the World Cup, right? It's like a
Yeah.
big carnival of joy and happiness. Um, but kind of tell me about in 2001, what was the next step for you once you were introduced to that scene?
Okay. We went faithfully to World Cup. And we were lucky that World Cup was usually held in Florida. But and I probably didn't say it yet. So the new kid that sat in front of me and popped up,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Yes.
James. So people got me with that.
He was the guy in
Yeah,
the
he was the guy
cubicle?
that sat in front of me. Yep,
Get
yep,
that out of here.
yep.
That's amazing.
So if it wasn't for paintball, James and I may just be friends, but never had that because we're much younger then, right?
Right.
And I was more of the I don't want to say like a party girl, not like a bar, but I had friends that, would like to have their little drinks and stuff like that. James was like this little angel. He just used to work on his books and you know what I mean? He doesn't even like the smell of a cigarette, which he had no worries about that with me. But even drinking. So of course my friends are like, who is this kid, you know?
That's so funny too because he was probably like, "Man, this girl is the best catch ever." Because a lot of girls that had boyfriends or husbands that played paintball, they were mad about it, and so a lot of these guys didn't get the opportunity or
I
to
know,
get married to those individuals because they weren't all about it, right?
you know?
How cool is
So yeah, and when we went to that one in 2001, I was just like, I probably fell in love with him just then and there because I was so excited.
right.
It was just so cool. And back then there were so many big stands and setups and little party things that would go on, and it was like a true festivity, you know?
It really is.
And then after seeing that, I would go with James when he would play at like local fields and stuff like that. Um, and then I think you and I met in 2002 at World Cup.
Okay.
Because I remember meeting you, it was a long time ago, but that's when you were doing your B stuff with Smart Parts, right?
Yep, I was with Smart Parts working at JT, paintball.com. Yeah, I did a lot. I didn't have kids back then, and I was almost with Michael at that time. I think 2002 is when him and I met, and that's when I moved to California.
Oh,
Yeah, he was, like, such a good source for me for learning, about the autococker, for example, and the many parts. I had to go to, like, a TV thing, and they were asking me like, "Hey, do you know a lot about the markers?" And I said, "You know what? Let me bring in a guy, and just so we have our base covered,
Yeah,
just in case, you know." So Mike and I were doing stuff like that all the time. But that's awesome that you remember that. That's so cool.
I sure do. And the worst thing is that I've got pictures because I always like to take a lot of pictures, but it's in one of my older laptops that just don't work.
Oh
But I
yeah,
still have it
I've
there
got a
because I'm
couple
like,
of
I gotta
those.
take it to somebody and see if they can figure out how to get my pictures because I want my pictures so bad. Um, and it was, I believe actually it was in 2002, was when I met LaSoya. But
Oh,
he was, he was the guy with the ponytail, you know what I mean?
yes,
So,
there he
and
is.
yep, and he was like a hothead. So I just loved him. He reminded me of my friends from New York, you know?
Right
He
on.
was just like one of them. And you know what? It's God's work, I'm telling you, because we just clicked and never not stopped being friends. But then that happened with so many of us. Um, but Ryan Williams, you remember Ryan?
Yes, of
Um,
course.
he
Aftershock.
for Aftershock, he had gotten hurt in the playoffs.
Okay.
He had slid, and but at that time, I had just gotten my degree in massage therapy, and mind you, it was because of paintball that I had wanted to go and do that. And when he got hurt, and I was able to fix him, and he went back and he played that last game, oh my gosh, I was so happy. But I
Wow.
can't tell you how many guys that he probably told that story to because the next World Cup, they
Yeah.
wanted me to bring my massage table so that I could have make a little money on the side or whatever. And let me tell you, it was like it was like a lineup.
Wow, you were in that circle because you know so many of the same people that I know.
Yeah,
Um, when I was basically introduced to
yeah.
paintball as well, and I agree with you, it's been such a blessing to be in that, um, circle, for lack of a better word. Um
Absolutely.
But you shared something with me, and maybe this is fast forwarding too much, and I took some notes and it's on my other laptop, so we're just gonna
It's
go with it.
okay.
But you shared something about you and James committing to an event, and this is before smartphones. We might have still had some pagers or something, and you guys were headed to the event, but the other team wasn't there. Are we fast
Uh,
forwarding too much?
um, for that event in Denver, James was playing on a team called FTB Grim, and these guys were located out of New Jersey. Well, I don't know what possessed us. I guess it's just the love of people. But
Yes,
when
it is.
they wanted him to jump on the team, we were like, okay, but we're in Florida, and they're in Jersey, so how is that going to work? And I could have seen that James looked a little bummed. They were a good team at the time. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let's do it. And on the weekends, almost every weekend, we would drive up to Jersey so he could practice with the
From
team
Florida.
from Florida, from Florida.
That is some
And
painful addiction right there.
so here comes the big event in NPPL,
Yeah.
and we show up, and now we're flying into Denver from Florida, and those guys are flying in from Jersey. So we're waiting, you know what I mean, waiting for them to come, and it's getting a little bit later. So James calls the FTB coach and owner, and he was like, "I had it out with the boys." So I think he provided their tickets, maybe, because he was like, and none of them are coming. And we were like, what? He was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. He was like, but so happened I was like their helper. So my name was attached to stuff for like their paint and whatever. So he was like, you know what? You guys could do whatever you want with it. All the paint's paid for, the entry's paid for, go ahead. So
So it's
um
just him, the
yeah,
one
so
player on that team's roster that's present and attended for, but no rest of the team.
no rest of the team, only James.
So
So
then how
then
did you what ha so did you go to registration and it's like the day before you walk on the paintball field type of thing?
um I can't remember if it was the day of. I
Like,
kind
did
of
you
think it
in
was,
other words, I'm asking, did you have
or it
time
was the
to
day
find
before. James
players
said it
to
was the day
fill the
before.
roster?
We got two guys.
Want to see a little face? Come on.
Oh, come on. They go. we ended up getting two people who were pod boys from other teams, and
Yeah.
they decided to join. And then I was like, well, ask around if you have friends that are doing the same. It's an event. All you would have to do is pay to change your ID to our team.
Okay.
So in the morning of day one of games, it was me, Tracy, and those two people only. The other guys that they found were still scrounging at registration, trying to get their stuff taken care of. So the first game,
It was just three of us.
the first game, we only had three because one of them was like, "Let me go check on my friend," and he ran to registration and didn't make it back before the game. So the first game, it was 7-on-3, and the next game we had the four of us, and then it wasn't until like the last game of day one that we had seven people to go out there. But the second day it was fun because afterwards we all kind of went out on that first day to eat. We talked about stuff. Second day we went 3-1. We missed the cut. Obviously, we lost the first four games on the first day. But those guys are like, we've never gotten to play a big event. One person, literally, his mom was like, "Oh, we just came to whatever on that first day." I was like, "Does he want to play? Pay for the registration to put him on the team. Jump on." Our paint was covered because we had already budgeted everything. He was like,
Right.
"I was just going to lose out on the money, but since you're there, go play." So that's what we did. And literally kids that were like, we didn't know paintball was a tournament thing, like local guys from Denver, and they were just there hanging out. We're like, "Come on, come play."
Get that out of your no, okay, so I've never heard of anything ever like that happening to a team that showed up to play with their 7, 8 guys and only really had one OG dude from the actual roster to play. That's crazy.
It was crazy, and it turned out to be such a fun experience.
And you guys made
You
new
know?
friends, and you kinda did a destiny where, part of our program is we bring these new people to the World Cup scene, for example, and they're just enamored, like, "Oh my gosh," it's, like,
Yeah, yeah,
mind-blowing, and so it was the same for those people that you introduced that scene to,
right.
and I'm hoping that a lot of them probably came back to try it again, I'm sure.
I'm sure they probably did because they all loved it. And they were all like, like the pod boys and or extras on the team. All the guys that we know was not going to get to play were the ones we wanted to give that opportunity to. Because at that point, win or lose, it really didn't matter. Even though we almost made it into the semis, right, James?
So you lost obviously the first day you lost your 4, next day you won 3 out of the 4. Is
Yeah,
that
and
right?
then so I
Wow,
think we got cut by like one team or something. It was amazing. We just thought that was so funny.
that is
And
hilarious.
then for me, um, I hadn't gotten I've been on the field all the time, but I'm usually like taking pictures or you know what I mean? Something
Yeah.
like that. So for this time, and I was gonna go in and play, oh man, I was so excited. I was so excited. It was fun.
Well, then
It was a
after
really good
that
time.
so again, you got introduced to it. Thank you, James, for bringing Tracy into our world. Started 2001. In between 2001 and 2005, you were dedicated to going to World Cup. That was like a tradition, still is to this
Yeah.
day. You guys still show
Yep.
up to World Cup. Have you missed a World Cup, by the way?
Um, I think so. I think there was a World Cup that I was in the hospital for.
And we'll get to that in a
That
minute.
that to
Um,
go.
then you go to this deal, 2005, most unique story ever, right? Now you're in 2006, I think, and you started working for a local paintball series. What was that
Well,
called
what
again?
happened is there was the Florida State Sunshine Series. It was ran by the owners of TC Paintball, and James and his friends in Florida used to locally play the Sunshine State Series events. And it was like, I think it was actually in '05 as well, that the owner of the Sunshine State Series asked me to jump on board and help him to run the events.
Wow.
So yeah, which was super exciting.
Very ex
And but then what ended up happening with the Sunshine Series was I ended up getting sick and they canceled the events and I was sick for a long time. So they weren't even sure if they would bring the events back or what to do.
Let's
But
rewind a little bit.
Mhm.
2005 is when you were added to their staff, and how many like, a year, I would, assume you were part of that structure and you helped behind
Yeah,
the scenes, kind of keeping the wheel turning. And then it wasn't even a year after that, I'm assuming, that you started to have health issues. And then they were like, well, if we can't do this with you, then we're not going to do it. So they put it on a sabbatical, right?
right.
Wow.
And what happened was by the time I did make it out of the hospital and stuff, um, I was trying to get on disability. That's what the doctor said recommend, but that did not work out in my favor.
Oh boy.
So I just wanted to go back to work. Um, I like working and earning what I get, you know?
Yeah.
So my parents were really hard on that. Like you gotta work hard to play hard. Like you gotta do that. So when I found out that I couldn't get the disability, I went back to my job. I was working as a network engineer at that time with Ericsson. And I met back up with my buddies that had the Florida Sunshine State Series and talked to them about let's open up another one, like let's do something else. So we
Well, I have
decided
to
to
stop
do,
you there 'cause I just realized something that you had shared with me about that story about the tragedy of you not getting disability, because I think you told me that you probably would have been better off in your current circumstance. You would have been better off had the judge, right,
yeah.
um, granted that. Are you comfortable sharing that story about that judge?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
important for you to share that because it totally would have taken you on a different path. But
Absolutely,
I'll let
absolutely.
you
And
tell
all
us.
things happen for a reason because when I got back together with the guys from the Sunshine State series, and we talked about opening a brand new series, it was my way really to make extra income too because our medical bills was through the roof. So that's when we opened together um, the we nicknamed it SPCS, but it was the Southern Paintball Championship Series. And oh, I'm sorry, you know what? Yeah, that's right. PB tournaments came out first. And PB PB tournaments was like a 3 and 5 man thing, and it did really well. So then that's when they wanted to bump it up to like regular like 5 man, 7 man,
Cool.
and we came out with the Southern Paintball Championship Series,
Okay.
and that did really well. But we have another big field in Florida, which is CFP, the Central Florida Paintball, and
They were kind
there's
of like almost a competition because you both were doing the same thing in
the
essence,
same
correct?
thing, right?
Right.
And what it is that the Smiths that own Central Florida and we've had a great relationship for years because we used to go there
You
and
guys.
play,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
Um, but there was some tension between the owners of TC Paintball and the owners of CFP.
I'm not
So
surprised.
what happened was CFP got in touch with me and was like, listen, we're losing a lot of our teams to this. What like what's up? So then
Yeah.
we were like, you know what? It, and that this is like PB tournaments that was doing good. And we were like, for me, I'm like, I don't want to be in competition with my friend. I want us to work together and do it together.
Yeah.
So that's when together we dropped PB tournaments. They dropped their Central Florida paintball
And then
thing that
merge.
they had going on. And then I came up with the SPCS.
Okay.
They liked the name too. And then we ran with that. And what we would do is we would have events in CFP.
Okay.
So we combined it, and that was really great. And it worked for a while, but there was too much butting heads with those guys.
Typical.
And eventually I was just like, yeah, like it's okay.
I mean, I can totally understand why, because the nature of the beast is kind of being controlling, and who the boss is gonna be instead of trying to
Right.
meet everybody in the middle and work together to make it successful. And
Yeah.
so if that does fall apart because you don't have the right mindset from everybody in that circle, then yeah, there's gonna be some challenges.
Yeah.
So then tell me, what happened after that? Did
So,
they break up? Like, so then there was a split and then that went away, the SPCS?
well, the SPCS, let me see, from 2006. Yeah, it went on for like a year, I think,
Okay.
before it was over. And during that time, um, I think it was even early. It was back in '05, was when Richmond, Italia hired my husband because they were opening up ProCats.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So
and
he helped open up one of their factories.
yeah, he helped open up, and it was him together with the same guys that had TC Paintball. So happened we were all a group of friends, and Richmond and that guy got along really well. So when they needed somebody for Orlando, they immediately thought about James, and I was like, "Do it." I mean, you
That's
love your paintball, work in the paintball, you know?
that's so cool.
Uh, yeah, so it
And
was,
that's
yeah,
why
it
it's
was
so
awesome.
important to be in, like, again, you're so significant. James is super significant. Again, you guys are running with these top-notch individuals that are running these manufacturing companies and doing these special events, etc. And with your background, and obviously it's a necessity that they couldn't function without you, as you shared earlier, so now he's at ProCaps, and it is all because you're so approachable, Tracy. Like, I think it should be
Oh,
known that you're always willing to put yourself out there for the greater good, even if you're going through some personal issues of your own, of which I had no idea. Like, even when you told me something about you going into your coma, like, I didn't even know
yeah.
about that. So when did that happen? Was it at the end of SPCS? Did your health, change at that point too, when you were
You know what?
hospitalized?
I was hospitalized right, uh, the SPCS got created after my hospitalized. We still had the PB tournaments going.
Okay, so
And
PE tournaments, but tell me when that took place, when you were in the hospital, I think, for a while
for
in
a
a coma,
while. So
correct?
yeah, it was December 15th, 2006.
Okay.
Oh, December 16th. Yeah. And and mind you, okay. It was December 16th in 2006. And mind you, December 17th, 2006 was my 1 year anniversary married to James.
Wow,
And
and it's also Diane's birthday,
oh,
12/17.
it's an amazing day.
Blessed.
And it was the last day of school for the kids, so I wasn't feeling good the night before. My
Okay.
asthma was bothering me, but my asthma gets bad. I've had it all my life. So I was just trying to be strong. I wanted to make sure the kids had their gifts for the teachers and, all this stuff. Sent them out to school. And my best friend and I, we were going to go have lunch and stuff like that because she was going away on a cruise. So she came to see me. Well,
Mhm.
by the time we dropped off my son, I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. I think you need to take me to the hospital. So she rushed me to the next hospital, the closest hospital, and they had put me on like a BiPAP machine. It hooks onto your face and it pushes
Yeah.
the air and pulls it so it like breathes for you. And they're running like narcotics, like the albuterols and stuff like that,
Yep,
all through
I
it,
know all
and
about that. Yep.
nothing, nothing was helping.
Oh, no.
And James was working; he had worked for ProCaps, and the facility was almost an hour away from where the hospital was. So James jetted as fast as he could to get to the hospital. But by the time he got there, he said that he said you were sitting up and you had the BiPAP machine in your face. He said tears were streaming down your eyes. And he goes, and I'm trying to talk to you. And he was like, you were just gone. So he ran and he called the doctors. And in ICU, they only do visitation by like a half hour at a time. And then you got to leave and come back.
Right.
Well, they were like, "Oh, visitation's done. So you can wait outside. You could come back in a minute." And James was like, "No, there's something wrong with her." And they were
Oh,
like,
no.
"Sir, you need to calm down and wait outside for a minute." James said that before he could even find a chair to sit, they come,
Bolt you
running through the
through, push
door.
him out of the
Yeah,
way,
like,
right?
"Where are you?" And handed him a paper and was like, "You need to sign this now. We're trying to resuscitate your wife."
I can't even
And
imagine.
he said by the time they got my heart started, they did get back my pulse, but that was it.
You died.
There
You
was
had died.
nothing, pretty
You
much.
died. Tracy.
And like that coma beat, there's so much that I remember that I don't know if they're like hallucinations or dreams or whatever, but it was really, really, really horrible because I was in a coma for almost 3 months.
Wow.
Almost 3 months.
3 months in a coma.
Yeah.
Again, I did
So,
not know anything about this. And in the meantime, let's go back to SPCS. That's still going on as you're going through this hospitalization and you're in this coma for 3 months. Is that correct?
well, what happened with SPCS is that so happened when I got sick, it was in December. So we had a break before the tournament series had picked back up. And they did cancel a few events while I was, not available. I
Wow.
kind of think that, I think the guys that ran it with me, I mean, one of them's like a dad to me, and I think it was just hard for him to like continue with it and know that I'm sick. So they just didn't want to.
Well, but it also
Um,
says a lot about your significance because you contribute a lot, and for that to be successful and for everything to work in the proper way it should, you had a big handle in that, and that again, that says a lot about you and how important you are. You
Thank
know.
you.
Anyway, I can't believe. So tell me about how then you come out of this coma and you obviously have to go through, I'm assuming, physical
A
therapy.
lot
Tell me
because
about
I
that.
was unable to walk. I couldn't talk. They had taken out my intubation tube after like it being down there almost a month. It was deteriorating my trachea. So they had to take the tube out and do a tracheostomy. And when they did that, it was a whole big mess because my heart rate was so high all the time. They had put me on blood thinners. So when they did the tracheostomy, they said I lost over half of my blood. So then they had to do like blood transfusions and stuff like that. All that for I'm, knocked out. But by the time I started to wake up and out of this coma, it was very, very, very weird. I remember looking around the hospital room and I don't see any signs of where I'm at. I'm trying to read. Like somewhere's got to say what hospital this is. Let me tell you, next time, hopefully there is no reason. But if I,
James is having it,
yeah,
he's got it under control, obviously, and he's working at ProCaps right at the same time while you're in the hospital. And
and the
then
thing
now
is, that, the kids, it was just hard for them because they know, I mean, they knew about my asthma. So they know, they've seen me go to the hospital, unfortunately multiple times. But I wasn't coming home from this one.
and
You know
so
what I
let's
mean?
let's talk about your son here because you guys are here with Thomas Taylor.
The one that's
Tristan.
in the picture is Tristan, yeah.
So he's back there, and here's Greg Hastings, and I think that's Matt, right?
Yep,
That's that one. And then who's that little guy?
that's Maximus.
Max, how old was Maximus? Was he born in 2006?
No, I didn't have Max yet.
Until
And
probably
they didn't want me to
2009, right?
have Max, what year were you born? Okay, I wanted to make sure you knew it. Yeah. He was born in '09.
Nice.
Um,
That's the same as BB, which are they're
yeah,
pictured there together with
yeah.
Little
And
Rocky Macaroni,
Rocky's Little Rock.
Tristan in the background.
Find it. I have this cute picture of him as a baby, and we were all playing. Um, and he asked my daughter Brandy to feed him, and it was so cute because she's holding this little baby and feeding him. Oh my God, it was adorable.
Oh,
But it's so nice though, because that's one of the great things about us, B, is having been in this for so long, we got to meet all these beautiful families.
yes,
You know
including,
what
yeah, all the Dynasty guys. This is Marcelo right here
I
with
mean?
Tristan and Max.
Yeah.
There's Ryan Greenspan, and these aren't just photos that yeah, "Hey, Ryan, can I take your picture?" Like, they literally know who you guys are.
Yeah, we're all like close, close, close friends and family, I feel like. Um,
Absolutely.
I mean, and they're just amazing. Like, even with everything that's going on with me right now, I mean, I can't tell you, they all reach out to me all the time. How are you feeling? Do you need anything? Are you good? You know, as a
Oliver
matter of fact,
Lane.
Marcelo, Marcelo was going to him and Tyler. They were gonna open the GoFundMe for me, but so happened Tracy Bauman, who works in the industry also, she did it. But like they would have done anything. I think it was Tristan and Oliver. Um, those two have been best friends since Tristan has been two. He's 2 years old. So
Wow.
that when he saw him, there was people lining up for autographs, and Tristan's walking by, and he yelled out to him, and Tristan goes and he leans over the table and he gives him that big hug. Oh man, it was so super sweet.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
and
here's the big hug right here too. Probably surreal,
yeah, yeah.
his own.
I have a picture of him in there where he's a baby. He's like 2 years old in the picture,
I'm
and
gonna
he's
look
sitting on
for it.
Ollie's lap. Did you see that one?
Yes, I did. Let me get to that. But
That
again,
one is
like,
so
your
cute.
sphere of influence and because of who you are and how much you just love this community, we would do anything for you. And that's why I think it's important for us to share your story so people can understand, like, I need, like, literally for some of the things that Destiny is doing in this very near future. We need people of your caliber and your knowledge and experience to kind of help us reach the goals that we want to do and as a service to the community and a service to the people that make that community great. Um, so
I
yeah, I'm
mean, it's
trying to
such a
find that.
great sport. It really is.
It
And
is
the camaraderie that everybody has with each other is amazing. You
amazing.
know, like, you always hear in sports, these like rivalries and competitions, and yet it may be like that on the field, but off the field, everybody's together.
There he
Uh,
is, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah,
little Tristan.
little Tristan.
Look how little the Dynasty guys look. I mean,
I know, I know. They all look so teeny. That's so cute. But
amazing.
um, but like those guys and Tristan have remained close all these years, and even now, Oliver living in Bali, we're still in touch all the time. He
I'm
never
sure he
forgets
trained for
Tristan's
you from
birthday,
there in his
which
meditation
is,
states, right?
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And then me, I was always grateful to the moms. So like Oliver's mom and I, we talk all the time. She's just the cutest thing,
Oh, I
you
love
know.
Oliver's mom.
Oh
Mama
my God,
Mama
she's the best.
Lang.
She's the best. I call her Mommy Mickey.
She's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I love that lady. She is awesome.
So
So,
now you're going through physical therapy. You're again, do you want to revert back to the story about seeing CNN on the television? How amazing that you still remember
oh,
that. And you didn't
so
know what day it was. So what happened after
really,
that?
um, so what was happening then was they were trying to um go through like a natural. I think it's like different if they put someone under in a coma for their health versus your heart stopping and your body falls into a natural coma. So what it was is that they were giving like medications, I guess, to see if I could, revive and wake up out of it. But it does give you hallucinations. So
Mm.
some of it, I'm not even sure if I really saw that, if I thought so in my head. But I do remember that I felt like if I was a kid. I had no idea I was married. When my parents
Wow.
would come to visit me and they would talk about Brandy and Tristan and Brandy and Tristan, I would be like, and what about Greg? Because Greg's my brother. And when she was talking about Brandy and Tristan, I thought she was talking about like maybe siblings I have.
Oh,
And
no.
I don't remember. Like I had no clue.
Did
Even
she
worse,
help you recall that? Like, do you remember thinking, "Who are Brandon and Tristan?" Or did she have to remind you of that?
mm, no, it started to come back on its own.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And then and even with James too, I was kind of like, we are together? Like what? It was amazing how much it messed me up. But one day a good friend of mine came to visit me and he asked the nurse, he brought a little boombox with a tape, which was something I had dubbed for him.
Okay.
and he made a copy of it, and he brought this little radio, and he asked the nurse, he said, "Can you do me a favor and just play this for her?" And she was like, "Sure." And I could remember hearing it. It's like an old school reggae CD, but I
Mhm.
used to love to put it on when I'm driving.
Right.
And I could hear it in my head, and I knew it. I knew what song was gonna come up next. You know what I mean? I could remember the lyrics, and I think that sparked something in my brain,
That's awesome.
and my memories started to come back.
Very good.
You
Very
know,
good.
the things
So
started
but
to
you
like
couldn't
make a
still
little bit
talk
sense.
because that tube was down your throat for 3 months, and that
I
also
know.
contributes to your voice being raspy the way it is. It isn't because you smoked, most of your
Right.
life, right?
Yeah. And I'm happy, like, it may be like raspy, but I'm glad that I at least have a voice because
Amen.
they worried about that too, and
Right.
whether my speech would be
Oh
impaired,
my
if I
gosh.
would have to remain with the trachea. And talking through the trachea is a pain because once that hole is there, the voice travels through there. It don't make it out your mouth.
How
So
frustrating you must have
when they
felt.
put this trachea, yeah, there was like a little purple cap, and if I want to talk, I gotta put the cap on it so it could like help, I guess, I don't know, amplify the sound or get it out or
Oh
whatever.
my gosh.
And I hated it. I
I
hated
I
it.
that would be my worst nightmare because 'cause I'm such an obnoxious loud mouth that if you took my voice away, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
and being a conversationalist too, like yourself, I'm so thankful that you got through that. Um, and
I'm
so
telling you,
again,
that was great.
so this is all before the SPCS, and they parted ways because CFP and TCP, couldn't do business anymore. And again, that happened right in the middle of that, correct?
Um, Wait, was SBCS started after, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it
So
did.
TV tournaments was the one that was going on.
Yeah,
And when I got sick and we canceled that, when I was getting better in '06,
okay,
that's when, in '07, that's when I did the SPCS series. It was after the coma.
okay.
Um, I mean, we love paintball. You know what I mean? We wanted to do something. And
And
eventually, when we
also,
got to
this is when they
join with the
denied
guys,
you. Go ahead, sorry.
no, 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 say it. What did you say?
Well, this is when they also denied you. The judge denied you your disability, and you're like, "I'm gonna go back to work then."
I'm
And
gonna go
that's
back to
why
work.
you did that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So my doctors did not want me to go back to work at all. So they told me that I needed to file for disability and get on the disability. I've worked for many, many years, so it's not like nothing got put into that.
right.
So the day of my court hearing, mind you, I am still holding onto a walker. I have my oxygen connected to my face, my trachea capped, and my lawyer apparently knew who the judge was, and she was like, "Oh my God." She
Oh,
knew
no.
immediately. She was like, "Unfortunately, he's not fond of your color. He's probably not going to approve you." And I was like, "Well, can we switch judges, or do it another day?" And she
Unreal.
was like, "You know what? No, but honestly, hon, it's really hard to deny your case, though." And I'm
Right.
thinking, you know what? True. Oh, he sure did.
Wow.
He yelled at me for not being able to speak louder. And then, like, if my lawyer tried to repeat what I said to help me out, he would be like, "I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her." And she would be like, "Yes, sir, I know. I'm just trying to help her." And he was like, "Well, you're not. I need to hear from her."
Oh, no.
Yep. And
Wow.
sure enough, he denied my disability. And he also put that if I refile, I have to refile with like new medical history. So like I can't tell them I'm filing for disability because I just spent the last 3 months in a coma and how much ever after in rehab. No, like is that not enough? But I feel like everything happens for a reason, B, because it got me to go back into the paintball and have that series. And I did go back to work, but unfortunately, um, it
Against your
just
doctor's wishes, though, and that's what's so crazy to me is how one person, that judge, dictated pretty much the path that you are in now. Like, you could have been on a totally different path, but what's
Absolutely.
incredible is that you're so optimistic still. Even in the midst of that unreal situation, you're still like, "Yeah, it's okay." I would've been mad. I would've been pissed off,
I
you
know,
know?
I know.
Hey,
I was for a really long time, and
yeah.
then it made it even worse because 2.5 years ago, I I got diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and that unfortunately is a terminal disease. And the only thing that they can do to really save you is a lung transplant.
But had the judge, again, given you that disability at the time, it probably wouldn't have gotten to that pulmonary fibrosis. Is that the right word?
Yeah, and that is correct because um, you know, it's a lot of work, you know? And then it so happened in my position, I used to hold like training classes for our engineers that come in and stuff like that. So I was just like busy, busy. And
And
it's tricky
you're busy
because
also because you're probably going through physical therapy, right?
yeah,
'Cause after you
yeah.
come out of this coma, they pull the thing out. You're doing all this therapy to even just get your voice to come back, and
And
you're
life
trying to
is a
build
little
your strength
upside
back
down
up.
too, because the house that James and I were living in with our kids was a two-story house.
Okay.
And when I got discharged from the hospital and I have to be connected to this big machine, I'm like, how are we getting this up and down? And it was a humongous piece of equipment. So I ended up having to go by my parents because they had a flat house and stay with them until I was able to go home. And unfortunately, it didn't even clear up for a while. And James ended up selling the house and we ended up just getting a different house,
Wow.
you know? And like all of that too, James had to do, I mean, help with friends and family, yeah, but he had to do all that alone and not with me,
Yeah.
and that was really, really tough, and
So
especially at that time, the two kids were really young,
right,
you
and
know?
James is still working for ProCaps, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, he was still with ProCaps. He
And
worked
then
with ProCaps up until 2008. Yeah,
okay.
he
And
worked,
then
yeah,
you're
from
a network
2006 to 2008.
engineer also on top of still doing the PB tournaments that then turned into SPCS.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I always had my job there, and
And then once that concluded, you went and you met Chris Rail.
right. So I met Chris. I think we had him out for one of the SVCS events, right?
Yes, brought the equipment
Um,
to print it.
yeah, he bought me the stuff that I needed for the ID cards for APPA for our SPCS events. And that was the first time of me meeting him and like talking to him and stuff like that. And I think he was excited the fact that I knew or I was a quick learner on
Yeah,
how to
you
print
had
out the
all that
ID cards and stuff
experience.
like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so then he asked me then if I wanted to come and help in registration for PSP. 2013, working with Rail.
You stopped working at 12, 13. You worked with him
Oh, that's
from
right. Because in about 2008,
Okay.
that's when the
Yeah,
SPCS was
2008.
going on.
2000.
Yeah, and then okay, yeah, so it was at 2009.
Okay.
Um, and I worked with him up until maybe 2013, 2014. We worked together for a lot of years. And then what happened was my mom got really sick
Mm.
with this scleroderma. It's an autoimmune disease. And there was not a lot of information that I could find, stuff that I could do. And I had always wanted to be a pharmacist. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to go back to school and I'm going to try to have all my majors in autoimmune disease history. I'm going to get to save my mom.
Wow.
And through that, through me going to school there, I ended up getting hired by this company called AbbVie.
Okay.
They make the biologic drug, Humira, that works for rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, all kinds of internal medicine stuff. And they were fantastic. Unfortunately, it was too late for my mom to be able to use their stuff, but it was like it was the best thing working and having all my little patients that I used to talk to every day. And James had left ProCaps and had went into banking. So we were both just working, you know. I'm trying to think, what year was it? I can't remember what
I
year
was
it
just
was,
trying to
but
find a picture of your
hi,
mom.
baby girl. Oh, look at that little face.
Bless your mom.
I can't wait to see
So
her.
you're
I think the last time I got
I
to
know.
see her and hug her was a while ago now.
Oh man, I think at least
Oh, your
5
birthday up, Laura.
years.
What did you say?
I think 5 or 6 years because she's 8 now.
Oh, a
And
good girl.
no, wait, I
Our
think
little
we did
beauty
see you
pageant
when I
queen.
took her down to Florida.
No,
You didn't see Tracy? You
no,
don't remember.
no.
Oh,
You.
um, wow,
So yeah,
Tracy, so
so when I had met Rail and he asked me to do that, and we worked together for a long time, and we had so much fun. There was so many things that we did, and then like because of doing registration with him, I used to travel to all the other events, you know? So it would be fun and we'd have all the players parties and all these things. But once again, from, just being in the scene, so many of you guys I had just met as a friend, and I'm just glad that it all stayed that way, after all
absolutely.
these years.
Well, and you
But
stayed so connected amidst still being extremely busy, trying to keep your mom alive and learn what it would take to do so. So you put your self back through school. You have 3 kids, I think, right?
yep.
And I can't even manage 2 kids, let alone 3 kids. I couldn't even imagine. But yet you're still working for the PSP. You're still making time to come visit us, even with your health issues. I'm just amazed and extremely inspired. Like I can't even complain about some of the stuff that I think I'm supposed to be complaining about because you're still making it happen. And just what 5 days ago you went under the knife. Can I show him that picture? Are you okay with me showing it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh! All right, you guys. If you
I
do get
think I think
queasy,
you could only see one incision.
that's just one incision. Oh
Yep,
Lord.
that is the one that is the long vertical incision. So you
Yeah.
can kind of see where it starts in between my breasts, but then you could see it goes down all the way. But then there's another incision that's under there that's all the way from my hip to my hip.
Tracy, oh my gosh. And so even right now, 5 days after, you had to go take some cough medicine, you were telling me. And
Oh my
I'm sure
God.
it hurts to even laugh, you know.
You know,
Um,
it just feels like the stitches, they stretch because this doctor was amazing. He made for me, he calls it a lung shelf.
yeah.
And I had a lot of scar tissue that had built up in my body over the years. So he removed whatever was scar tissue, but then he tightened the top of my abdomen to my diaphragm so it could almost make like a little shelf for my lungs.
Mm.
And he told me that at first it may feel like I'm being squeezed, or like it's hard to breathe, not to panic. And let me tell you, that portion of it actually feels good.
Okay.
And I am so excited about that because that was the whole point of the surgery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The exterior, the longer part of it was there was a lot of scar tissue from my 2 cesareans. So they needed to get all that because that's one of the spots where it started to grow from.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that because of the scar tissue. And it also is very similar, bizarrely, to what your mother had,
Yep.
right? And part of the reason why they can't give you a lung transplant is because of why?
So they can't do that because they said that my heart is not strong enough to be able to withstand that. They don't think that they would be able because I think they gotta put it onto like a little machine or something so they could get into your lungs. And they were like, we can't do that with you. So they were like, you really need to don't, stress yourself in life. And while I was in the hospital, and the disability people got the notification that I was going to apply, and I'm thinking it's going to be just like how it was before, and I'm going to have to go to court. It's going to take forever. We're going to, be struggling now. And not this time around. This time around, because of my condition is terminal, the disability automatically approves you. So yes, that's great. But at the same time, I'm like, why did you have to wait for this though? You know what I
So
mean?
frustrating. I'm just so angry at that judge still. I still keep thinking about,
Mhm.
again, how you could have taken this other path, but I guess the positive way to look at this, and again, I can relate to this sort of because of my daughter, Diane.
Yeah.
And I had children late, 36 and 39. And Diane was born by the Immaculate Conception because I do not know how. Because I was still traveling, doing his pro thing and practicing and going to all these events. But it actually did happen at Huntington Beach in 2012 when we decided to bring Destiny back from our sabbatical after my dad died. But I was so frustrated when she was born. And I'm a Christian, and I was so mad at God. Like, why, God? Why am I going through this again? Because my dad had died a terrible death. He was paralyzed from the waist down, couldn't talk, couldn't walk for 3 years. All right.
Wow.
And so I'm thinking, okay, we're in the clear. That was tough, guys. It was the biggest challenge in my life. And I'm so glad that we went through it because I got closer to my dad because of that tragedy. And the positive thing that came out of it is it helped me learn how to love better, right? To be patient.
Right. Right.
Then Diane's born with this rare chromosome abnormality. And so in your case, you're in this situation where it probably could have been avoided, but it still happened to you. And now you're getting disability, but it has to be because you're going to die. I mean, and
Right.
again, just to be very transparent here and just tell it like it is, because I don't think people really understand the magnitude of what you're actually going through because you're so humble. You never want any of us to worry about
Yeah,
you.
I don't want nobody to worry.
No, and you're so genuine, you're almost too good to be true, but you literally are good. You're such a good person, and so maybe we need you, and I'm hoping that, we can ease some of this, tribulation you're going through by just participating in the raffle that,
Yep.
Fred Schultz is putting on with William Bailey,
I
and
know, it's
so
amazing. And
amazing
they're
how
not all
again
prizes, so many great prizes. Like it's gonna also make a lot of people happy. So
right,
I'm
and these
really looking forward to that.
prizes came from your sphere of influence and the connections that you've made within your network. And again, it's such a great example of how this paintball community is so superiorly unique
Yep,
in the way that we
really, really are.
try to come together. And so that's why I felt it was important to start this podcast finally, because you are my inspiration and my reason for starting
Oh,
this
thank
podcast
you.
to tell your story. You're our destiny. You understand what I'm saying? And so paintball's destiny is you. And so, with the respect that we have for you, we want to return the favor. And so, tell me about some of the prizes. Isn't Bud Orr giving away an autococker in this too?
I believe is one of the autocockers from Pador?
There's one from Baltimore.
Yeah. So there's one that is from Bud Orr. Plus, Bud Orr donated these 3 posters that he
Godfather
signed.
one, right?
The Godfather one. But I love the one that's the schematics of the autococker. And,
Yes. I hope
oh
I win
man,
that.
that was so cool. Oh man, that was amazing. I was like, holy cow. And I love there's so many cute things that's a non-paintball. Like, did you see the wooden cup, the Cobra Kai
Yes.
cup? Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
awesome.
But they've got tanks and jerseys. I think there's like 6 paintball guns altogether. Um, gear and hats and clothes and bandanas, stickers. There's so many awesome things,
I'm gonna
so
look for that flyer that they just made recently, Flagpole Productions. So everybody, please go to that page. On top of those prizes, didn't Josh Silverman also donate something pretty special too? And the
a
value
blue
of it, I'm
shocker,
sure. What was it?
a blue shocker. The blue
Amazing.
shocker is from him. He said, I can't remember if it was Facebook But one of the magazine companies that he took pictures for sent that for him to take these pictures to put it on the cover of the magazine.
Wow.
And they allowed him to keep it, but he just put it up on his wall. And when he found out that I was sick, he was like, I would do anything. Like, you just tell me. And I don't even know how he knew about the raffle, but I think maybe probably from Fred. And he couldn't wait to jump on it and to give
Gino
something. That was
Pastorivo,
one of the first things.
right, and then Gino Pastorivo even donated some items as well.
Yep. And now Gino and I know each other. Fred and I didn't really know. I knew his name, but I can't really say that I've ever met him before. And Gino, when Gino found out, which I think it was just from maybe reading it on social media,
Yep.
he was the one that went to Fred and was like, "Listen, we got to do something for my friend. You know, like let's put this together." So then Fred reached out to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is a great idea." And I was like, "What do I need to do?" He was like, "Well, just talk to some of your friends in the industry and see if they could get some donations, and then we'll do the raffle." So that's what I did. But like everybody, and with COVID going on, I get it. Like it's not the easiest time, you
Right.
know, but like paintballers are really family. They really are, Like it's amazing to watch the love pour in the way that it has. It's also beautiful reading the messages that I get, and it's so nice, hearing someone say like, and God bless you, and I'm praying for you, and it's like, oh, because we're always so tough out on the paintball field, you know what I mean?
Right. Well,
So it's
I'm showing some prizes now, and again, you can go to Flagpole Productions, and then I'll also try to share William's email address. I think it's billbailey68 at Yahoo. But tell me about these prizes that are coming from people, like this one right here.
yeah,
Um,
and the tickets are only $5 a piece.
yes, only $5, and you can buy as many tickets as you want, right?
You can buy as many tickets as you want. Yep. And they're going to pull the prizes individually and raffle them off for winning ticket.
Look at this is The Mandalorian, a painting done by, I think it's called Fearless Nonprofit. Love those guys.
Yep.
Got a lot
Ian,
of
Ian, Ian
Ian
Ferrari.
Ferrer
Yeah.
Ferrari, yes.
Yep. That's the one that he's such talent, huh?
I love all of because it's got all the colors in it. I love that. You should see my
And
kids' room. It's just a rainbow room. We have some stuff here. Do you know who these are from?
you know what? No, I'm not sure who those are
That
from.
looks just like something you make. It looks like you hold it's like a paintball stand, like a paintball marker stand, and some other things that you make from
Okay.
there's Bud's poster right there.
That's poster. He's such a sweet guy.
Look at that.
That's the one. Oh my gosh. I think that's so cool.
And he's so generous and genuine. That's what I was
Yes, he
trying to say.
is. Yes, he is.
Such a good
And
dude.
Fred Schultz and William Bailey have been working so hard on this. There's some days I feel so bad because I'm like, it's not even giving him a break, Like, I feel like he probably didn't know how busy this would have gotten. But I must say that he is amazing, and Fred has some amazing stories. So, like, if you guys do turn into Flagpole Productions, he's got a lot of really cool interviews on there. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot more coming up. But it is really cool getting to see some of like the older classic guys, because of their friendship from back in the days, which is nice.
You know, for those of you that are listening, and if you haven't made a $5 donation, and if you're worried that you're not going to get anything out of the $5 that you're donating, I will send you something. If you really want something that bad for your $5, I will personally send you something. So again, here's what you were talking about, the Cobra Kai, because
It's
I
over, guys.
love that program on Netflix. Karate Kid fan right here, total nerd.
Yeah, me too.
That's so cool. And again, that's the other side of that. And I'm just going
Yeah.
through all the pictures on William Bailey's page. Look at this, an Ironman patch. It's the
Yep.
OG
Those are
Ironman
from the
patch.
OG. Yeah.
Man, and sorry, I'm going through the Facebook, and so you're gonna see a lot of messages pop up.
Look
Um, and
at
then
that beautiful little
Betsy,
girl.
Yep, we're giving away some things too, some patches, and I'll just probably throw in all kinds of stickers with each one of them that are given away. We have a COVID mask too that we're giving away. Um, and then we have an HK Army goggle. It's a KLR. There it is again. Lenses.
Oh,
Beelish.
beef jerkies.
Yeah, tell me about this.
Okay, so I'm not sure the name of the guy that has this company, but apparently he's somebody that Fred knows. So he sent him this jar of these beef jerky sticks. And Fred was like, oh my God, they are so good. So he asked the guy to send one in for the raffle. Fred
So,
said, maybe
and I
the
didn't
first one
even
was
know you.
supposed to be
Fred
for the
Schultz put
raffle.
that up for us. Thank you, Fred.
I know. And he was like, but I think I ate too many of them, so I had to send another one.
Look at that. And that's a beautiful push goggle. Obviously, I'm a huge push fan. Been with Brian for a
Yep.
long time. Um, that's from Push Paintball. But yeah, check out Flagpole Productions. And there you go. That's the logo that you want to try to find and get more information about all the many different prizes that are going to be there. And Tracy, thank you for doing this with me and for debuting our podcast.
Absolutely. I'm so honored to be the first one. I can't wait till I'm feeling better. We could do another one then. I could
Yeah,
actually I can comb my hair and put on some makeup, you know?
and me too. I'll have like a filter for that and maybe some background and uh and again, you guys, I really love Tracy Perez so much and I want her to have as many more years with us as possible because she's such a huge contributor to our industry, to our world of paintball, and she's a positive, righteous influence. So, with that said, again, $5 is all it takes to make a donation. I'll get you the information attached to this video here or in the post itself. And I'll make it real simple for you guys, or just message me. You can text me and I'll give you all the info. And again, if you feel like you really want to get something out of this, I will send you something valued at least $5 and I will cover the shipping of such. Um,
Thank you, B.
well, you're welcome, Tracy. I need you. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your butt because I think you're just,
I'm so happy. I can't wait to see what we're gonna do coming up. I'm really excited for
oh,
that.
it's going to be
And the
awesome.
best thing is that, once I'm all healed up from this, I'm supposed to feel a lot better. So I'm looking forward to not, losing my breath so fast,
Lord
the way I normally
Jesus.
do. I'm sure I'm not gonna be able to like run and gun or anything, but hey, at least now I could put on my mask and be able to breathe.
Amen. When is the raffle going to take place? Has Fred made a decision on that? I think it's going to be this upcoming Tuesday if I'm
Yeah,
not
I think it's so far. He said it's gonna be this upcoming Tuesday.
upcoming Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
if he extends it out, I'll let you know. But I think that's when it's supposed to be. I think he's gonna do it during his show.
And then we also have your GoFundMe page. I'll get that information up as well. And so the goal is to try to make about almost $20,000. And on your GoFundMe, do you know what you're at right now?
I think I'm like a little over 5,000.
Okay. So, and I believe that they have sold at least 225 tickets.
Yep.
All right. So we just need to get a lot more of that going. Diane, push the button. We call her buttons right
So
here.
yeah, I mean, even though I have insurance through James, um, it is the it was like the end of the year when they were like, nope, we've got to do the surgery. Well, so happened early, not that much early, but Max had to get surgery on his legs. He's still double casted right now. And
Oh my
when
God.
it was time for my surgery, we maxed out our insurance, you know? And the hospital, even like when you are disabled and you're permanently disabled, there's a lot of things that like Medicare will cover. So the hospital and facilities was fine, but the thoracic surgeon and his anesthesiologist don't take that.
Oh boy.
Honestly, neither does my pulmonologist or my internal doctor. So unfortunately, that was no help for me. And it was my pulmonologist that recommended this thoracic surgeon to do it. And you know, like James has said, there's some things we could be cheap about, but your life ain't one of them. He's like, so if I got to get another job, he was like, I don't care, you're going to get the surgery done. And they were great enough to run it through my insurance before the year began, because in the beginning of the year, like now, we have a very high deductible that we've got to meet first.
Yeah.
So it would have left us where now we have to put out the deductible, and then we've got to put out whatever's overage, you know what I mean? And then they take what they want. So they did the billing for us in the later half of December, so that I was able to get as much out of the insurance as I could. So I was definitely happy for that. But this bill, when I was in a coma, some of those bills were like more than our house, the total was just
And
crazy.
again, this is even before of this situation. You went through that situation,
Yeah,
then Max had his situation, right?
yeah,
And again, going back to what I feel about why God blessed me with Diane is because he has made me a better person through her angelic being and her being on this earth, right? Because it made me look at life differently. And so there's something that I learned today at church, and I want to share it with everybody, is that we have to be strong and courageous. You do not want to be terrified. This is in Joshua 1:9. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And through any, ill circumstances, we have to go through the rough, in which you're going through the roughest of the rough, sister. And you have a testimony to share because of your strength and your love and belief and your faith. And again, everybody has a story to tell that's going to give us information to feel motivated and to understand that we're all on this earth to help each other. At the end of the day,
absolutely.
at the end of all of our lives, whether it's tomorrow, 2 years from now, 100 years from now, if you get to live that long, it is all about, did you understand that you needed to learn to love? You don't have
Yeah.
to be a Christian to understand that. It's all probably in every religion that love
And
exists.
that's so true. When I was now coming out of the coma, I wasn't able to talk yet. And this little old doctor comes in my room, and he sits on the chair, and he grabs my hand, and he was like, "Do you know who I am?" And all I could do is shake my head, yes or no. So I was like, "No." And he was like, "I'm the one that did your tracheostomy." So I was like, "Okay." He was like, "Can I take a look at it?" He looked at it, whatever. Then he sat down and he held my hand. And he goes, "Do you know what they call you here?" He goes, "They call you the miracle baby." He said, "I thought you were going to die." He said, and he goes, and he went on, I guess, vacation. It's Christmas time. So he was gone during Christmas. And he said, "I told my wife there's this beautiful young girl and we can't do anything to save her." So that day that he came in the room to visit me was his first day back. And he was like, he goes, "You were on my mind so much." So the first thing I asked them was, "When did we lose you?" And they said that you were upstairs. He said, "I had to come up here and see this for myself." And he was like, "I can't believe this." And then this is what he said to me, which I will never forget. He said, "All of my life, I never believed in God." He's like, "I'm God. I do God's work. I save people." He
Mhm.
said, "And we gave you every drug in this hospital and couldn't save you." He said, "But now I know there is a God." He goes, "I could see it in
Wow.
front of me." And he said, for the rest of his life, he was like, "I'm going to go home and tell my family." And I don't remember seeing him, after that, but I'll never forget that. Because, even if that was the only reason why I had to go through what I went through, it would be worth it. Because by the time he tells his wife that and they tell their kids that, it's going to stick with them and they'll understand how amazing God is, you know?
Absolutely. And again, it through the hardship, and again, what your purpose is, what all of us have to understand is what is our purpose. And it is the story that you share and that you tell and the influence, right? There goes the buttons again.
Hey, sweetie girls.
So thank you very much, Tracy, for doing this because, again, I know that it took us a little bit because I had to figure out this stream thing,
Yeah,
StreamYard,
you did a great
and
job. You
then
did a
figure
great
out how
job.
to implement the images that we wanted to share, especially with all the wonderful prizes that have been contributed. And that's being here at home. I need a studio, guys. So I could lock the key and then hire a nanny. And Diane is now sharing her two sets.
Diane's like, I know how to pick that lock, Mom. I get in there, right?
All right, you guys. Well, thanks again, Tracy, for doing this. And we are constantly
Bye,
praying for
baby.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for having me.
You're
I love you guys so much.
We love you too. And so next up, Flagpole Productions coming up on Tuesday.
Yep,
And we're going to be doing this raffle. There's still time to get into it. Buy as many tickets as you want, you guys. Or you can
yep.
go to the GoFundMe page. And I think you have Venmo and PayPal too, right?
I have PayPal and Cash App.
Okay. We're going to meet the goal. And if I need to do a charity event sometime this year through Destiny, we're going to do it. And we're going to get that money for you, girl. So
And
thank you.
and I know that Will Arroyo may be doing a little raffle for me as well. Todd
Awesome.
Adamson had donated some jerseys for me,
We
and
love
another guy, I can't
you.
remember his name off the top of my head. So he had some, but he's gonna do that raffle on his own. So I'll let you know so we could look out for that. And I know Fred said that he has something else in the works, but I don't know what it is. So we have two things to look forward to also.
Yay! I had enough to push a button. Done. All right. We love you, Tracy.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.